There's a certain style of iteration or loop that's very common in programs, and C has a statement to support this style of loop. Here we create some variable that's going to control the loop, call that a loop variable. We initialize it, we perform a test on that variable, and we enter the loop. After we perform some work, then we change the value of the loop variable and go back and retest it and so on. So this is like a while loop, but it has a certain structure to it where we initialize something, we test, we execute, we change the value of the loop variable, and then go back to the test style. So C has a statement to support this directly. It's called a for statement, and we call this a for loop. And it has a little more complex syntax, so let's look at it. So the keyword for, parentheses. These things in orange are all expressions. Even though I drew a box over here, this could be a statement if you think about it in a flow chart. But in a for loop, this has to be an expression, not a statement. The reinit has to be an expression, not a statement. But we want that expression normally to have a side effect. So it's either going to be an assignment or an increment or a decrement is very common for this reinit. But the fact that it's an expression means we can't put a while loop here, for example, because that's a statement. We can't put an if statement here. That's a statement. So these semicolons, they may make you think that this first part here is a statement, but it's not. Semicolons are here to separate these expressions from each other. So it's a little subtle point, but it's important to know what you can do and what you can't. So here's an initialization expression. Here's the test expression. And here's the reinit expression. So all that is put at in the header of the loop, so we can see what's happening to that loop variable from the very beginning. And then after this header, we have the statement. So the way that a for loop works is first we evaluate the init expression, right? So we do this. Step 2, we evaluate the test expression. So we move on to this. We evaluate this expression. If it's true, we execute the statement. If true, execute statement, else exit the loop. After the statement is executed, we evaluate the reinit expression, and then we go to step 2 where we evaluate the test expression again. So it's a little more difficult to explain, but there's just more pieces to it. It's essentially a while loop with a decision at the top. Here's an example of the for loop in action. In this loop, we are going to print all of the multiples of 5 from 0 up to and including some number that we call limit. So here's how we write that loop. For x equals 0, here's the init expression. Again, the semicolon is not part of the expression. X equals 0 has a side effect. It actually, because it's an assignment operator, it changes the value of x to 0. Then we evaluate the test expression. Is x less than or equal to the limit? If it's true, we go into the loop. We don't do this yet. We go into the loop and execute the statement. Here's the statement. It's only one statement, so I don't need the braces here, but I put them in because it's a good idea to do so. So we execute the statement, we print the value of x, and then we evaluate this reinit. Again, this reinit is an expression. It has a side effect. It's an assignment. So we add 5 to x and store the result in x. After the reinit is evaluated, we go and evaluate the test and decide this is our loop here. True, we go here, here. True, we go here, here. False, we exit. Okay? So what's the difference between a for and a while loop? Almost any for loop can be converted to a while loop and vice versa. So in most cases this is true. I'll talk about one special case at the end where it's not quite true. So here's the loop that we just went over on the last board. Here is the same work expressed with a while loop. So notice the init expression becomes a statement that happens before the loop. The test expression becomes the test expression in the while loop. We have the loop body of the for loop gets put next in the loop body of the while loop. And then finally the reinit expression becomes a statement at the end of the loop body in the while loop. But these two pieces of code will do exactly the same thing. And most for loops and while loops are that way. So in almost every case, it doesn't really matter whether you use a while loop or a for loop. It's a matter of what do you think is better expressed, what you want, what do you understand better as a programmer, how do you want to write it. It's a matter of style to a certain extent. We tend to use for loops for things where we're counting up or we're changing a value along a range of values. Where a while loop tends to be used where it's more of a sentinel. We wait to see whether some condition comes true or not. Yeah, it's a subtle difference. You can choose either way to write your loops that you like. Now I promise I'd tell you the one counterexample. A continue statement in a while loop, if we had a continue statement somewhere in this loop body, it would go straight back to the test. In a for loop, a continue statement will exit the loop body, but it will evaluate the reinit expression before it reevaluates the test expression. So that's one difference between a while and a loop and a for. You can get around that, but generally speaking, they're the same thing.